So today I get to answer some of your questions. If you already follow me on Instagram, you would know that I asked a question, or rather I opened up the platform for questions for you to ask me anything that you wanted to know about me or cameras or videos or whatever that I do. If you do not follow me on Instagram already, and if this is your first time on this channel, welcome. My name is Z and I share tips and tutorials on how I shoot my videos, from the gear that I use to the software that I use. So if that's your kind of thing, please do consider subscribing, because hey, the subs, we need subs. I mean, without wasting time, let us look at the questions. I'm going to be looking for my phone, so don't think that I'm ignoring you by looking down. I'm actually just looking at my phone. Oh, look at that. New subscriber. Like, cool. Okay, so the first question is, what's your workflow like from brief to production? How are you finding the process of interpreting briefs? I'd say the most important thing is to get on the same page with your client before you do anything, before you start recording, before anything to do with the production starts. You know, you need to be on the same page. So I have a questionnaire that I have a set of questions that I ask the client, just so that I understand where they are coming from and what they want, because sometimes it's not enough for the client to just tell you, oh yeah, you know, we want this video and we want it to be nice, we want it to be iconic, we want it to be fun. It's cool, you know, you want it to be fun, but what does it mean for you? Like, what exactly are we talking about? Where's this video gonna be? Is it gonna be posted on Instagram, or is it gonna be, you know, a television commercial, or is it a reel? Is it a post? What do you want it to be? You know, all these things will affect your production at the end of the day. And you just want to nail these things in the beginning, and that just smoothens your workflow. I think it's more like a planning tool that you have. So in pre-production, you're just planning everything. You're just mapping it out with the client so that, you know, you're at the same page. And once you have all those things ironed out, you now know which, you know, lenses to use, you know, which shots to take, you know, which locations to go to, you know what you need for the production. That'll just even help your post-production, because from the onset, you actually knew what you were doing, you were planning it well. The biggest mistake that one can ever make is to wing it. That'll just mess up your workflow. Like, sometimes it works, but most times it doesn't. And most times you miss the brief. Okay, second question from a friend of mine, Matambo, shout out. Is film school necessary for you to be a successful filmmaker in Africa? Okay, first things first, I'll say that this is just my opinion, you know, this is my opinion. So don't shoot me and say, you know, Z said. My personal opinion is, I think school is important, but I don't think it's necessary for you to be successful. So I think learning is important, but you don't need school to learn. I think the idea of having a certificate from a schooling institution gives you the illusion that that's success. I genuinely think that there's so much to learn just from life, you know, just waking up every day and, you know, being able to see the sky, being able to see the trees, to see people. There's just so much you can learn from just life. And these days, I mean, you don't even need to go to school if you really want to learn something from. There's so much free online learning out there. But I think the most important thing is to not have this illusion that you need this school to teach you something. Don't get me wrong, schools have an importance in life, and you learn so much, you learn so many things. I'm a self-taught designer, I'm a self-taught videographer, and there are a lot of things that I just wish, you know, I could have just learned in school, and I didn't have to try 100 times, you know, failing and have to figure it out, you know, the 101st time. But there's so many other things that I learned fast because I didn't have barriers that I believe, you know, schooling systems can also put in your mind. Because, you know, remember, schooling systems are teaching us to think the same way. Everyone believe what is in this book or in this syllabus. So your mind can actually be blocked as well. My personal opinion, success is not dependent on your schooling. But learning probably is, you know, learning from how others have done it, learning from the environment around you, learning from, you know, different kind of things because that's what makes you grow. Third question, how's married life? I feel like I've been getting really good questions. Why? Short answer to that, amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Did I say amazing? No, it's really great. And I think one of the most important things that I just want to mention is that it's great that I got married to someone that also understands me as a creative. I think that's a really important thing. That's one thing that I always hear in the circles of, even with friends of mine that are creatives, everyone has this fear. I'm gonna get married to someone who doesn't understand my grind or who doesn't understand, my passion or how I do things, or what it takes to be a YouTuber, or what it takes to be a filmmaker, what it takes to be a photographer. And I think for me, one moment I was walking and the next thing I saw her there, and then I was like, are you okay? Are you hurt? And then she was like, what you mean? I was like, well, I mean, you're an angel that fell from the sky. So I'm wondering, are you okay? Okay, next question. I want to start learning videography. What's the moderate camera body to start with, and which lens should... okay, that's where the question ends, but I'm assuming you wanted to ask which question should I get. This is my general measure of cameras. So if you want to do videography, I would say Canon or Sony. I'm a Sony shooter. I love Sony, so I'm biased to it, but Canon is actually also good. Canon is even better for beginners because it's got a better interface that is easier to understand for beginners. And I'll say photos, you can stick to Canon as well, or you can try your Nikons and all these others. I'm not so familiar with the other brands. I've never used a Panasonic. I've never used Fujifilm. I've never used the others. I've mainly only used Sony and Canon. So they're really good, but I would say if you're starting out and you really want, something that is easy to use, go for a Canon. And I would suggest the 50mm lens because it's cheap, but it's also a fast lens, which has a wide aperture, and which is really good for video because it lets in a lot of light and it allows you to drop your ISO low enough so that you don't have grainy footage. Those would be my suggestions to you. Okay, next question. What's the best camera to use for photography and cinematography as a complete beginner? I think I just answered that question, and that is an answer for you as well, say Mr. Kundai. Okay, next question. What do you think about the DJI Pocket 2? I'm sorry, I wish I could say something about that, but I've never used, these small action cameras, so I have no knowledge at all about them. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, next question. I already own a Canon 650D. Which low budget lens should I get? Okay, I think I actually answered that question when I was answering another question as well, but I'd say the 50mm is at the perfect price range for beginners, and it gives you a really good image, both for photos and videos. Although I should mention though, for videos, this is something that I didn't mention in the other answer. If you're intending on heavily doing videos with it, you want to make sure that you are using external audio, especially if you're going to be vlogging with it, or you're going to be recording something that you heavily rely on the audio to be, to be really good. This is because when you're shooting with the Nifty 50 and you're using automatic focus, which I would assume you would be if you're a beginner, it will continuously try to adjust its focus so that it keeps whatever you want it to focus on, whether it's your face or an object that's moving. It will be making a certain noise. Probably that's why it's a cheap lens, but it makes a certain noise that may end up also distorting your audio if you're heavily relying on the camera recording the audio. But if you have an external audio recorder, then you don't have anything to worry about. It's just something. It's a small sound but it because it's so close to the camera body, it's gonna capture that more than the sound that you actually want your camera to capture. That's just something to note for video. Okay, cool. So that is it from me, and I hope I answered everyone's question correctly. I might have missed a few questions, but if I did, don't shoot me. I probably replied you personally or in your DM or something, I don't know. But if I didn't, just, shout at me in the comments down below and I'll be sure to answer you. But apart from that, until next time, don't forget to subscribe,